stars in the sky if you got a dream. Learn nothing was blocking me. I was the problem, the only one stopping me. I didn't like it, I had to refocus. Now I'm devoted, I know where I'm going. Controlling emotions, I'm owning the moment. In order to get it, see, you gotta want it. Don't make a living break. Confessions over these 808s. Don't sleep on the key, better stay away. I mean, for heaven's sake, I'ma be the best. Came from the endless, lane walk games, bitch with the chest. Beating on my chest, trying to get my rest. Watch me while I flex. Every win is a blessing, and every L is a lesson. So when I run into rejection, I know it's only redirection. I see the blessings right beside me. The chances of quitting are likely. I do it like I'm in my Nikes. Don't make excuses, they never excite me. Quitting was never an option.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Split Second Broadcasting as we bring you the OSRL Nekoworks Design Central Valley 150 here at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. I'm Evan Snyder, joined alongside me, Elliot Henderson, and our pit reporter, Ross Brockman. Glad to bring y'all this iteration in race 3 of the OSRL season as we're getting ready to kick off things here as qualifying is commencing. But Elliot, first thing obviously we got to talk about is a little bit more about this racetrack, thoughts about last week, and kind of what we're expecting into today. So of course, for those that missed last week, we did see Kendall Carpenter get his second win of the season at Texas. So kind of thoughts about that there, Elliot, as he's a little bit on a hot streak and look to continue that here at Kern Raceway.
Yeah, it's obviously a much different course here tonight, and I haven't seen him put a lap in quite yet, but coming off, obviously, not just one, but two very strong finishes. He won the opener at Daytona as well, and is currently your favorite, as well as Cole Freilich. I'd say are kind of the two guys that we're looking at to start to contend for this championship. As now as we go through qualifying, he puts in a lap 300ths up quicker than Gabe Woods. So on pole, on provisional pole for now as well. So. You got to imagine Cole sitting there shaking his head like, what do I do to beat this guy at this point? And he tried a lot last week, but to no avail. Came home, I believe, second or third in that one. But it's Texas was a lot of fun, but tonight is going to be a lot different. And it's something that Cole and Kendall both talked about. Cole was very excited to come back here. I don't know if they ran here last season. I'd have to look that back up, but he was excited to get to short tracks. He said he thrives on short tracks, and Kendall on the opposite end was nervous. He wasn't quite sure how he'd fare here. Didn't really have the most optimistic outlook. So I'll kind of rely and see if Ross has any extra information. But so far, Kendall already a bit of a hot streak compared to what we thought we'd see immediately coming in here with provisional pole right now.
And like you mentioned, this is the first short track that these drivers are going to see this season. Of course, Daytona and then Texas being a mile and a half, which they were on last week. So, of course, a little bit different of a discipline coming into play here with, short track racing, as everybody knows. And we might even see, hopefully, people get a little aggressive. And, short track racing does produce some good battles here and there. And you did mention the last time they were here. I'm not sure either if they ran this track last time or last season. But
they did, actually.
They did. So the race winner from last season was Tyler Lanin. Apologies if I butchered that, but he was the winner last time out here at Kern Raceway. We will take a quick look, though, at the upcoming schedule. As we notice, Kern is our current race, and we got Sebring next week, the first road course that they will see, and, of course, Richmond and Montreal to follow shortly after that. But we'll turn our attention to kind of some strategies and stuff here going into Kern Raceway. Again, like we keep mentioning, it is a short track, the first one that they are seeing. So what do you think strategies are going to look like here, Elliot?
Yeah, a quick notice, Kendall actually gets dropped off of pole. Joe Armstrong looked really good in qualifying, and he's currently sitting on provisional pole, about 20 seconds left. And just a quick note that Josh Hinn is returning, champion last season and runner-up here at Kern last season to Steven Gibson, and Cole Freilich is the guy that finished third in that race. So those two know how to get a job done. Chin sitting fifth in queue right now, Freilich in fourth. As far as strategies, I'm gonna have to rely on Ross here whenever we dump to him. But with it being a short track, 9 times out of 10, these guys are really just gonna wait as long as possible to pit. It's only 150 laps, 18 and a half second, 19-second laps. Means that this race is going to go very quickly if it stays under green. So as far as strategies, 9 times out of 10, assuming we're looking at about a 50 lap on fuel run. Again, we'll have to rely on Ross for that for a little bit more information, but you're really only going to have about a 2-stopper. And from there, you're going to have to see what these guys want to do with tires. A lot of guys are going to want to try that super long game and not pit as many times as they can. And some guys are going to try to shortcut it and pit right before that sequence starts, so that they can then work themselves back up towards the front and not have to deal with as much traffic. So we'll have to see how this all works out. We'll either cautions or we won't.
Can you repeat the question? Oh, hey guys.
Apology, we have Cole Freilich in the booth with us.
Hi. I don't know if I jumped the gun, but hi guys.
I think we got in there a little bit quick, but we've been doing this recently. But Cole Freilich in here for the interview. I think it was supposed to be the pole sitter, and that's not Freilich, but we'll interview Freilich and we'll see where this goes. But Cole, what are you looking for tonight? I know you were excited to get back here, but currently starting 4th as it is. What do you think is going to happen tonight?
I'm hoping the 20 car struggles. I need a week where he struggles, but we got some of the premier competition, no pun intended, joining us tonight with Joe Armstrong, Josh Chin, Braden Mubbock. Those guys past champions. Well, Joe's not, I don't think, but those guys are past champions, past contenders for championships. So they're going to be a real tough crowd to beat. I know Joe is going to be really strong. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting how this shapes out. And I thought I finally got rid of that 93 car, but he's in my mirror. So
yeah, it seems Indy Pro Series is getting ready to start, and the qualifier is done. So I think he's stuck with you for a little bit. But yeah, what do you think you have for the 20 tonight? Considering you guys are mainly the 2 guys going for the championship here so far, I don't think you really need to worry about anybody else at the current moment. You got anything for Kendall?
Well, I like short tracks a lot better than I like Texas, so hopefully I got a little race pace on them. But I don't know. It'll be interesting how this shapes out. This race last year was kind of a little bit of a crapshoot towards the end, just because there was 4 or 5 of us that could have won that race, and it came down to a pretty good photo finish. So I think you're going to see a lot of guys coming and going tonight, and yeah, I'm just excited to get rolling here.
Yeah, we're hoping to see it. We only had about 6 cautions here last time out for about 30 laps, so it seems like it'll be a good one, and we'll hopefully have you in here for an interview, hopefully from Victory Lane, if not from the top 3. But best of luck tonight, Cole. Looking forward to it.
And hope you guys enjoy your Labor Day weekend if I don't get to speak to you at the end of the race.
Yeah, sounds good. You as well.
Well, Freilich, ladies and gentlemen, as we're getting ready to roll here, of course, it'll be nice. Hopefully things work out for Cole, as maybe, who knows, we will be talking to him at the end of the race. I think we're just waiting for a few more cars to grid. The one thing that he did mention, Josh Chin, and you even mentioned yourself, Elliot, is back in the lineup for today. Last season's champion, a very solid driver in his own right. So see how things shake out with him and kind of where he's at as he qualifies in the 5 spot. The other thing, too, I'm interested to see here, Elliot, is, of course, when we talk to Ross, we'll get more insight on it, but kind of what fuel mileage is going to look like and kind of the fuel window for some of these drivers. Because like you mentioned, some of these drivers probably will try to go long, maybe some of them short, and try to get some undercuts going. We might just have to wait and see what Ross Brockman has to say for us.
Yeah, you mentioned, you and Freilich both mentioned Josh Chin, and I'll be honest, I appreciate Josh. He's a great driver, but with how good Kendall and Cole have started this season for 2 races, they've both finished 1-2, I think, or have at least both been in the top 3 at a minimum. I don't know how Josh can, come back from a 2-race loss. He's gonna have to buckle down and get some wins under his belt here over the next few weeks, and see where that puts him, because right now the 20 and the 15 have this entire field on a stranglehold. I think they're already pushed himself about 30 or 40 points out as I'm looking at it now. Yeah, Kendall Carpenter with a 40-point lead over third place Jack Painter. And I mean, at that point, it's like, how do you come back from that? So we'll have to see what Josh Chen can do tonight. Obviously, former champ, a lot of wins racked up in this series, and looking forward to seeing what he can do. If Ross Brockman's in the booth, I'd like to toss down to him, see what we've got for field strategy, see if anyone's talking yet.
We'll wait to see. I think they're actually doing a drivers meeting as they're about to roll off here. We'll throw it back to Ross here in just a second as the drivers are going to roll off and we get our starting grid rolling here. Of course, on row 1, we already mentioned him. Joe Armstrong is going to be your pole sitter with Kendall Carpenter on his outside in that row number 1.
Gabe Wood will line up third with Cole Freilich on the outside in fourth.
Behind them, you got Josh Chen and Tyler Seville.
Jeff Yanich will roll off in seventh with Mo Perry to his outside in eighth.
Jack Painter and Brendan Lindauer will also be right behind them as well.
William Schmidt will line up 11th, and Justin Knudsen will be 12th.
We got Chris Lilly and then Isaac Johnson in the 13th and 14th spot.
Stephen Gibson will roll off 15th with Griffin Jones to his outside in 16th.
And Nolan Sanford and Cyrus Gorneridge will be right behind them as well in row number 9.
Gavin Newton, who we talked about way back in Daytona and a little bit at Texas with some differing strategies, will roll off 19th. We'll see if he has anything to say tonight. And John Daniels rolls off 20th.
And Jonah Malashak and Tristan Baker right behind them in row 11 and 21st and 22nd.
Hunter Waters will roll off 23rd with Ethan Stuckwich to his outside in 24th.
Harry Grindle and Chris Pervalowski, apologies if I butchered that, will be right behind him in row 13.
Braden Amovic will roll off 27th with Chad Stearns in 28th.
And Colton Lindauer and Robert Dorman behind them in 29th and 30th.
And that is the field. Marty Farrell, AJ Green, Dante Fregale, Sam Cosner, and Emery Spence either didn't put in laps or did not make the field tonight. We capped it at 30. Everyone else went home.
Yeah, I believe so. It looks like, according to the data, it doesn't look like they put in a qualifying time like you mentioned, Elliot. So maybe they, unfortunately, did not make it to the race. But here we go. Green flags in the air here at Kern Raceway. As Joe Armstrong leads the field. Had an amazing restart there. And someone behind him, Cole Freilich, will actually get the advantage on Kendall Carpenter making the pass for second place.
Yeah, I think that's pretty big. I think that's pretty big for Cole. He needs to try to keep Carpenter at bay after what happened at Texas as the caution's out.
And we see already our first caution as a big pile up on the front stretch just out of turn 4. A bunch of cars involved. See the 33 involved in that one along with a few others, but we'll get a replay of it.
And Gavin Newton, Isaac Johnson, I believe Harry Grindell was in that as well. A bunch of guys that we were literally just talking about. Unfortunately, it looks like, the 33 caught the 53. That is Chris Lilly and Isaac Johnson. Isaac Johnson on the 33, Chris Lilly in the 53. Just kind of came together in the middle of the corner on exit there and fortunately put a lot of guys down towards the bottom. Doesn't look like any massive damage, though, there, Evan. Looks like a bunch of guys kind of just got away with it, and it's just going to bring out a yellow here.
Yeah, now taking another look at it, looks like the 53 there. I believe that is Chris Lilly kind of just got loose and collected a bunch of cars with him. But yeah, like you said, I don't think too much damage. I think you really have to worry about maybe if you are the 33 of Isaac Johnson of having a good amount of damage as he did get collected a little bit more on that one.
I think it was a 35 of Stuckwich ended up underneath someone. He seems to have probably the most damage on the front of his car. But even then, we're at a short track. Damage isn't going to be too bad. We're actually going to watch it from Ethan's point of view here. See, he's going to just nowhere to really go and drives up under, I believe that's Gavin Newton right there. Then the 49 catches him. That's Chris Pervalarkis going past. But I think Stuckwich kind of has the most damage. But It's a short track, and these cars can take a beating. They're pretty good at maintaining that. So we'll have to see how he contends for the rest of the night, or if that's going to end his evening. But right there, you can see just drives right under him.
Yeah, it looks like Stuckwich, currently in the pits, actually lost his front bumper in that one. So we'll see. Don't know how much damage that's going to give him, but hopefully he gets it fixed and gets back out there on track. Because at least if you can't get a good finish, if you complete most of the laps, because if you know anything from experience, short track racing is very unpredictable, and you never know. You could have a big crash, or like we just saw those drivers earlier, but they could drive back up in the field later in a run, and maybe salvage a better positioning.
Yeah, it was interesting that Freilich mentioned that this kind of turned into a crapshoot at the end the last time we were here, and said about 4 or 5 different guys could have won it. So it kind of makes you wonder how tonight's going to end up going. An early yellow here, about 2 laps in. Never really a great sign, but hopefully that kind of gets everyone in a boat where they can start to look forward towards the green flag run. But I was really interested that Joe took the outside and then was able to clear, and that Freilich himself was able to clear. And we saw Kendall had some wheel spin at the beginning, so that's going to be something these guys are going to have to deal with. I'm not sure if that's like a first gear to second gear start. Maybe Kendall tried to get too much, as Joe's going to pick the outside again here, and we're going to have to see if Cole will spin tires. But that's something we'll have to keep an eye on tonight, evidently.
Yeah, and of course, too, as a run, you get deeper into a run, of course, tires are going to wear, arguably a little bit faster here at this racetrack. But yeah, that's one thing that they are going to have to manage, is the wheel spin, as it can happen very, very easily, especially in some cars with a little bit higher horsepower. His car will be off as Joe Armstrong will lead the field back to green here. It's coming out of turn 4, and they're off. Great jump there by Joe Armstrong, as Cole Freilich, terrible jump off of him, kind of checking up that inside lane a little bit. There's a good 1 and 2 there, makes up some time there on Armstrong.
Yeah, it's just really hard to manage that from the bottom. You can see Carpenter already trying to put a little bit of effort into getting back around Freilich, but they all kind of single file out for those first 4 or 5 spots. The real battle back here, the 97 of Jack Painter right there behind the 41 of Perry and Seville, all for about that 5th spot on back.
Yeah, I think honestly most of the racing here tonight is going to be in this middle of the pack, because of course we know how good Joe Armstrong, Cole Freilich, and Kendall Carpenter are going to be. And of course, you have Gabe Wood, Josh Chin kind of competing up there, but really about 8th on back is where you can see a lot of battles, as they're still too wide here off the restart. As the 97 trying to hold off the 11 here as they come to lap 12.
Yeah, and these are a lot of guys that we haven't talked about really at all this season between Daytona and Texas so far. Tyler Seville, Jeff Yenich, Mo Perry. Obviously, Jack Painter ran really well at Texas, had a strategy to potentially put himself in a 2nd place finish, but ended up 3rd there. But Mo Perry is someone that we haven't really talked about, Tyler Seville. So really cool to see these guys run up front, qualified up front, and hoping to see them run around the top 10 all night and continue to talk about them.
And as this run goes, we'll actually throw it real quick to our pit lane reporter, Ross Brockman, see if he has any insight about kind of a little bit of what happened on that incident and kind of what this fuel strategy is. Ross, what do you got down there?
Yeah, that last caution, just pretty quiet on the radio, though it was a parking lot on the front stretch. I think the 33 of Isaac Johnson said he was just trying to check up as the 53 of Chris Lilly was spinning there, and just kind of a couple people got in the back of him after that, and a parking lot ensued. So I think you guys are talking fuel mileage. I think ultimately you guys talked about a pre-race. You want to go as far as you can here, because when you do pit, you're going to be multiple laps down. I think you could potentially go over 100 laps here. But I think if anything, you're going to want to probably split this up and maybe get some tires maybe at halfway or maybe a little bit before then. So I think you unless you're really crazy, you're going to want to go as far as you can on these tires, and I think that's what these guys are going to do. Nice to see some green flag racing here so far.
Thank you very much, Ross. We'll hop aboard here of Braden Mavic, as he is trying to get some more positions here on the 70 and the 02 in front of him, battling out for position. Currently running 19th, started 27th for Mavic, so he's making his way through the field. There's a beautiful battle here between the 70 of Harry Grandel and John Daniels. As Movic kind of just waiting, pacing behind him, maybe to catch a little bit of a slip as he will get onto the inside of John Daniels, trying to make that pass stick.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ross talking about the fact that they can go potentially over 100 laps. Quick update from that wreck, though. Ethan Stuckwich has actually left the server. He evidently had too much damage to continue, so that was something that we documented but weren't quite sure on. We now have the confidence to say that that was too much damage to keep going with. Tristan Baker's also gone a lap down, and Hunter Waters seems to be well off pace, about 16, 17 seconds, nearly a lap down to the leaders based off of his issues from that wreck as well. But I guess based off what Ross said, we're looking at about 75 laps, and these guys are probably going to try to pit around there and just do a one-stopper. We don't know how many extra sets of tires these guys might have, but I'd assume that a one-stopper would work if they can go over 100 laps on fuel.
And this beautiful battle keeps on commencing between the 70, the 02, and the 42. Even allowing the 59, I believe that is also, the 89, sorry, to also squeeze in there. As these guys have been 3 wide, 2 wide. I know the 70 and the 02 have been 2 wide for majority of this. Even Movic has been able to make it 3 wide at some point. Really battling hard, but of course this battling will come at a cost with, of course, using your tires a lot more. We talked about as several times with you, Elliot, and also Ross telling us that you kind of want to go deep into a run. And if you are battling like this very early, sure, track position does mean a whole lot, especially on a track this short. I mean, of course, you're going to pay the price of wearing out your tires even faster.
Well, I think that's the thing is, do you want to run hard at the beginning and try to get as many spots now, assuming there may or may not be cautions, or do you want to save those tires and try to enact on that later? And I think, everyone's going to run it different, but typically what you want to do is try to gain spots now versus later. That way you're not dealing with it at a different point, and you kind of have a better opportunity to change your strategy. Nothing's really changed up at the front, though, except Josh Chin has gotten around Gabe Wood, but the top, I'd say 4 or 5 are kind of gapped out, and Cole Freilich still holding on to second over Kendall Carpenter right now.
Yeah, the top 5 pretty much exactly the same, except, of course, Freilich getting around Carpenter early in the race. Of course, Josh Chin kind of knocking on the door behind Kendall Carpenter.
Yeah, Chin has been putting together some really solid laps. I'm interested to see if he can get up there and mess with Carpenter a bit.
Currently up a position. He started 5th, did Josh Chin. Of course, sitting in that 4th spot. And, of course, the returning champion making his debut for the season. He's had a really nice season last time out. And, of course, his first race. So he's looking to piece together, maybe get some wins or get some good position or good placements as well. And we kind of talked about this might potentially be his only race, or he might run a couple more. We'll just have to wait to see how the season unfolds. But one battle I do want to highlight a little bit further back in the pack is between the 43 and the 11. 43, Braden Lindauer and Tyler Seville battling at each other for the past couple laps now, with even the 23, Jonah Malashak, even kind of being in the mix a little bit. So at one point, 2 wide for a decent amount of laps. So kind of get a bit of a train going on behind them. This battle we're looking at for 11th place. It's Tyler Seville just trying to hold off that 43 machine.
Yeah, and all these guys are honestly pretty far down the points. Tyler Seville obviously missed a race, so he's down in 23rd, but Jonah Malashak also missed a race. I believe Jonah missed Daytona and Tyler missed Texas, but both of them down outside the top 20 in points right now, so it'll be a really good points day with both of these guys running right around the top 10.
And of course, 2 points do mean everything, especially when seasons are so short. Not a lot of time to make it up. Speaking of points, one guy I did want to highlight in the points standings had a really good race last weekend is Braden Lindauer. Jumped up 15 spots and currently sitting 12th in points. Had a really, really nice run at Texas. So he's looking to improve more as he's trying to hold off that, or trying to pass the 11 of Tyler Seville. Look a little bit further on. Oh, as a car gets loose, I believe that is the 22 of Justin Canuckson. A little loose there as he gets too wide there with the 70 of Harry Grindell. As Movick and Sanford right behind him as well, trying to pass for position.
I haven't been able to tell if really the outside is where you want to be. We see these guys passing the 22 on the outside, but it's interesting. Some short tracks you honestly want to be on the outside so that you can pinch down the guys on the inside, and that's easier to pass. But we've seen kind of guys running all over the place here. You've got, I don't know if that's a lap car up there running up towards the top, as now Josh Chin making his move on Cole Freilich, who's lost a spot to Kendall Carpenter. A lot going on up inside the top 5. But Chin now looking for the 3rd spot, while all these guys lose ground to your leader, Joe Armstrong.
As we come to lap 36, it's a gap getting ever so closer between Josh Chin, Cole Freilich, and Kendall Carpenter. Kind of just riding along Josh Chin, trying to get around Cole Freilich, who said in his interview before the race, Freilich is excited to be at this track. He does consider himself to be better at the short tracks. Just trying to get back around Kendall Carpenter for that 2nd spot.
I'm interested in this line that Chin's running, and now you can see Cole's kind of adopting it. It's you go into the corner really hot on the top lane, and you cut it down in the middle and try to get the drive off and get a big run down the straightaway. You can see Freilich kind of used it. The problem is when you do that and you don't get a big enough run, like Freilich really didn't get there, then you got to go to the bottom and attack all the way on the bottom, and you can see Freilich actually got loose, and now he's falling in the clutches of Chin even more. But this is the tactic that's usually used at tracks like Dover and even Martinsville, where you just kind of go into the corner and then you try to diamond off and get a big run down the straightaway while the other guys just kind of come off the corner normally. But unfortunately, didn't really work there, but I'm interested to see how these guys tend to use it as the run goes on.
And one bad corner there from Freilich kind of closed up that gap between him and Josh Chin. Was able to recover a little bit. I mean, if you are Freilich, I think honestly you just have to kind of just take it one lap at a time, making sure you're hitting your marks and not really messing up too bad, because was at one point all over the bumper of Kendall Carpenter. Of course, had that one bad corner like we mentioned, trying to diamond it off and kind of get more of an arc through the turns.
Well, I think you got to do that, but they're also losing a lot of time to Armstrong right now. They've lost about 4 or 5 tenths in the last 4 or 5 laps. So Armstrong's starting to gap him. You can see the wood all over the back of Chin. Chin made that move a while ago over Gabriel Wood. So for these guys to all be stacked up on each other just shows that Carpenter seems to be the one kind of bogging this train down. And Chin honestly seems to be the one with the best rear tires. Everyone else is kind of sliding off the corner. We saw Painter do it there before as Chin. Big run off the corner that time. And you can see even Wood a little slidey through exit off of turn 2. But Cole's actually going to give that spot up and say, you know what, if you can go get him, maybe I'll follow through. But Carpenter continuing to lose ground to Joe Armstrong here.
Yeah, beautiful pass there from Josh Chin. Oh, contact between the 04 of Gabe Wood and the lap car of the 82. As they came together a little bit. That was a little worrisome as Gabe Wood got put into the wall a little bit, but able to recover. We'll get a quick replay of it. I believe it was the 82 that got into Wood a little bit. I'm surprised that even happened as they're coming off of turn 2, sorry. And just right hooked him, and wow, that could have collected a lot of cars there. Especially the 97 of Jack Painter and also Mo Perry running behind that lap car as well.
Chin, big move, gets around Kendall Carpenter, but yeah, to your point, Gabe Wood's going to be suffering here for a little bit. We're going to have to see how bad that damage is, but he just had a 4th place car, and he has dipped all the way back to 7th. He got loose off that corner, and it looks like the 82 is just kind of there, and unfortunately couldn't really get the car to stop going towards that outside wall, and they kind of made contact. I just wonder if that's going to hurt the right front suspension at all, or if it really just hurt the rear end body. That obviously you can see the damage whenever we pan back out and get a nice shot of. There is some bodywork damage done to the rear of the car here.
He came together with Colton Lindauer, the 82, who's a lap down currently. Very unfortunate. like you mentioned, a bunch of cars got around him, especially the 21 of Steve Gibson. William Schmidt also got around, and Mo Perry also benefiting from that incident. So we see now the battle for 7th spot starting to commence. Getting around to lap 50, so pit stops still kind of a couple laps away. First two, you don't want to take care of your stuff. And lap traffic is honestly going to start coming into a factor as well when you think about it, as 3 cars are already down on the lead lap. I mean, Joe Armstrong has pretty much built up a pretty sizable lead, almost a minute and a half onto Josh Chin.
Freilich still hasn't been able to do anything with Kendall Carpenter. I'm kind of surprised by it. I thought for sure that he'd be able to basically follow Chin through there with how much pressure he was putting on Carpenter, and it looks like he's just kind of abused his stuff now, and now he's looking at his mirror and seeing Jack Painter really fill it, and Mo Perry's not too far behind there. And Jack has been sliding on exit, but he seems to be able to manage that aspect of the tires a little bit more. He was able to do that a lot at Texas, where a lot of guys seemed on edge. He was on edge, but able to be fast on edge. So still able to put power down. We'll have to see if he starts to pressure Cole Freilich for this 4th spot.
The other thing I've noticed about Jack Painter, he is entering the turn a little bit lower than I believe Mo Perry and Cole Freilich. He's kind of diving more in there, as you see. Actually, he keeps it, and it's just above that first white dashed line. So Painter kind of sliding the car in there just a little bit more at one point. Top board of Painter, who has Cole Freilich right in front of him and kind of just hanging around. Yeah, like you mentioned, goes up the racetrack a little bit. So I think Painter's even struggling with tires here a little bit too, as lap 55 here at Kern Raceway.
Yeah, I'd say they probably all are. It's just who's struggling worse than anyone else, as Mo Perry's actually going to send it down in there, try to get a move done on the 97. Nothing happening there, and he's going to have to fall back and fight another day, as Freilich is still right on the back of Carpenter but can't do anything about it, and Josh Chin has not really done anything about the lead or the deficit to Joe Armstrong yet.
Yeah, Chin has kind of been able to close up that gap a little bit, but as soon as Armstrong, I feel like that's in the corners. I feel like once Armstrong hits the straightaways, he absolutely takes off from the corners. Oh, as the car goes around the 79 of William Schmidt. I believe he got into it with the 21 of Steven Gibson, as that'll bring out our second caution of the evening. Have to wait to see the replay on that.
And those guys were all really, they had a gap over the next group of cars, and they were really aggressive trying to get underneath each other. And we talked about William Schmidt last week, had a really good run, him and Steven Gibson, honestly, at Texas. So we'll have to see what happened here. Is everybody's going to come down pit road, and this may be the caution that creates the one pit stop. And yeah, 79 just gets run over.
Wow.
I don't know.
Absolutely obliterated.
Yeah.
By Steven Gibson. Wow, that is...
You got to wonder if the 79 was checking up because everyone else was trying to get in line or something, but it just looks like they mistimed. Yeah.
The 79 just came up in front of Gibson. Yep. And just got absolutely booted. Almost collected the 04 in the process as well of Gabe Wood. But
yeah, it looked like Schmidt was just trying to fill a hole, and then the hole was gone.
Yeah, but try to squeeze it in there, but unfortunately we see it from Gabe Wood's POV. Oof, barely missing the 79 there. That's going to be a little bit of a pucker factor for Gabe Wood, especially having contact with a lapped car earlier in the run. But he was able to net some positions from that as well. But we see a bunch of cars come down pit road. Tyler Seville, one of them, and a bunch of leaders also came down as well. Pretty much everybody in the top 15, I believe, did come down on that first time by. We're going to throw it down to our pit reporter, Ross Brockman, about what he saw during those pit stops.
Yeah, pretty much the same for everybody. Everybody getting their 4 tires and fuel. I thought it was interesting during that green flag run. A couple drivers kind of teased the idea of, hey, let's do a 2-stop strategy. I think a lot of them were clamoring for some tires, so hoping that maybe some others would join them, and nobody took that bet. So they all looked like they were going to try the one-stop strategy and pit maybe around the midway point of this race, which would have been lap 75. But this is a very interesting spot here because you have 90 laps to go. I think you can make it on fuel with 90 laps, but you guys just saw with 50 laps, tires, they were sliding around a lot. So to ask yourself if you can save enough to be able to hold on to it for 90 laps will be a little bit of a challenge, I think. So I think some of these drivers are going to hope that we can get another yellow maybe in another 30, 40 laps. But if not, we could see some very interesting strategy as far as how long you can save your tires and be able to go on a long run here.
And I will ask you this, Ross. What if we don't get another caution? Do we see possibly some of these drivers pit during a green flag run? Because we talked about already, if you do pit under green and you're on the lead lap, you'll most likely go a lap down.
Yeah, and I was looking a little bit at some speed, throughout that run, and I think most of the time they were falling off. It didn't take long, and they were falling back about a second or two off of their faster pace. So you could maybe come get tires and hope that you can gain some track position, but it's going to be really scary because you're going to have to go 30, 40 laps hoping for no yellow.
Well, thank you very much, Ross. As the field gets lead back to green here by Joe Armstrong, an amazing jump, kind of a lax one from Josh Chin, as he kind of didn't go, and Kendall Carpenter will reap the benefit of that, getting around him. And also Cole Freilich kind of knocking on the door to get around Chin.
Yeah, the inside lane just really doesn't get a jump, and I'm not sure if it's the angle, if it's the shortness of the restart zone, or what that is, but that's, it seems every single time we get a restart, that bottom lane just doesn't go, and this time it was Chin's problem, and unfortunately, he's going to lose out to Kendall Carpenter, but he already knows that he has the pace over Carpenter. He's just going to have to bide his time and line it up and get around him. At least he won't have to pass multiple guys to do it this time.
Yeah, because we noticed Armstrong also took the outside lane on that restart as well. He did that on the first restart after the first caution of the race. So maybe that outside lane does have a bit of an advantage, but we'll see Kendall Carpenter getting right on the door of Armstrong as they're side-by-side diving into turn one.
Yeah, and I don't know if Josh Chin likes this or not, because obviously he knows that Carpenter's going to run through his tires, potentially, but Armstrong really battling it back. They make some contact, and it's going to send Armstrong up the hill. Armstrong now loses out. Kendall Carpenter leads, and now the third race in a row.
They had to give him a little bit of the door there to get around him. But Armstrong not going anywhere just yet as he's right on the bumper. He'll send it in on turn number 3 onto Kendall Carpenter. They'll be side-by-side going through here. Great racing here between two really good drivers, as Armstrong with the advantage this time around and pulled just nearly away from Kendall Carpenter. But Carpenter will get a good run off of 2 right on the bumper of Armstrong.
You got to wonder if that was just Armstrong wondering how hard Carpenter was going to try to drive right here on this run, and Josh Chin probably still trying to angle out and figure out what everyone's trying to do here. Is it looks like the pressure's on and people are going, and Armstrong has laid down the gauntlet and showed exactly how fast he is going back around Carpenter. But I mean, that second, third, fourth place group is on top of each other once again, and they're not too far off Armstrong. Carpenter doing a lot better job of making sure that Joe doesn't get too far away.
And we'll look here at a battle for 5th place between Jack Painter and Steven Gibson, as Gibson trying to complete that pass onto Painter. It's been kind of just, they've been even neck and neck through these past 2 laps. As a little bit of a checkup from Freilich and make contact with Gibson. That will actually reap the benefit for Jack Painter as he'll get around both the 21 and the 15, trying to make that outside line stick, and he will do so, pulling away from Freilich ever so slightly. But Josh Chin now kind of getting caught up in the mix with both Painter on his outside and Freilich kind of driving it in deep. Even Mo Perry getting into the mix, the 41 machine. Side by side going through 3 and 4.
Yeah, Mo Perry drove in really hard. Didn't expect Painter to go into the corner as soft as he did, and now he's going to pass Cole Freilich. Freilich going backwards. The inside lane not moving. Painter around Josh Chin. Josh Chin moves back to 4th. Painter up to 3rd.
Yeah, so maybe that outside line kind of has a better drive off. Typically it does. But some of these guys, running about either a car length or about half a car length from the apron. Jack Painter reaps the benefit of that. Will Schmidt also trying to get into the mix as well, sitting right behind the 42 of Braden Movick. As he started 11th up into the 9th spot currently.
Yeah, Braden Movick is all the way up from 27th into the top 10. That's an impressive run for him. Interested to see how he can keep moving forward as he's now trying to get around Steven Gibson for that 7th spot as he watches Mo Perry and Cole Freilich make some contact. Definitely a lot going on back here as these guys, I don't know, it might just be the fact that maybe someone like Jack Painter is assuming that they're going to make 2 pit stops and he knows that he needs to get what he can out of the tires. Whereas someone like Josh Chin is like, well, if this goes green until the end, I want to make sure I have the tires to get up here and get this win, so he's not going to push as hard. So it might just be different strategies as to why these guys are all doing different things and why some are fast and some aren't. But right now the battle is definitely on and no one's getting away.
Yeah, the issue, though, for if you are Josh Chin, you do have Mo Perry and Cole Freilich knocking on your door right behind as they battle for the 5th spot. And Freilich does have the pace to be able to get around Josh Chin as we see Mo Perry. And, oh, Freilich goes up the racetrack into the wall. Not sure what happened there, but Mo Perry was going around him as all the other cars in the back of the field as he collides with, I cannot tell that, I think it's the 46. So major fall from grace for Cole Freilich, running in the top 5 this entire race. And I think he has some good damage there, Elliot.
Yeah, car definitely looks really messed up with how he hit the wall. We might have to just go back and get a replay as he's actually going to spin now. No yellow still. He was 90 degrees sideways.
Yeah, well, normally when a car behaves like that, possible wheel damage. We'll throw it to Ross real quick, see if he's hearing anything over radio chatter.
Yeah, he tried to get to pit road there and wasn't able to. Definitely sounds broken, and I'm not gonna say what he said on the radio, but I don't think he's very happy.
Yeah, no, we got a battle for the lead up here.
Yeah, well, we look at this replay. Armstrong and Carpenter are fighting for the lead, but we'll take a quick look at this replay, see what happened to Freilich. It's unfortunate for him, like I mentioned, running in the top 5 this entire race. He even got around Kendall Carpenter. Let's see here, as always, he actually gets a slight tap from the 21 of Steven Gibson, giving him a little bit of a nudge.
Yeah, Gibson just didn't really check up in time. I think Cole was planning on getting behind whoever that was in front of him. I think it was Mo Perry at the time, and Gibson wasn't really having it and kind of ran in the back of him there on corner exit as Carpenter couldn't complete the pass on Armstrong. Painter now to the outside of Carpenter. Just a quick update. We were talking about Tyler Seville earlier. He's down in 20th now, trying to gain back spots. I believe he had some damage repairs, something go on pit road, slow pit stop. He went from inside the top 10 to fighting his way back up in the top 20 here. Painter still working on Carpenter for second.
Yeah, Seville, you mentioned, started the race in 6th, was having a pretty good run. I think he did get caught up in a little bit of an incident early in the race. But beautiful racing here between Kendall Carpenter and Jack Painter as Armstrong trying to hold the both of them off. And, of course, Josh Chin kind of just lurking in the depths with Mo Perry behind him. So that'll be your top 5 as they run currently. And we already mentioned him, Brandon Movick, who started 27th. Only sitting in that 6th spot as he's kind of just chilling, riding behind Mo Perry at the moment. Carpenter and Painter still side by side as they come down the backstretch.
And I'm really impressed with Jack Painter. I mean, it's similar to how he ran Texas. Like, he just started right around the top, right around 10th, and just kind of ever so slightly worked his way forward. And here he is tonight. We're nearing the halfway mark. Well, sorry, we're 10 laps past the halfway mark at how quick these laps are going. And Jack Painter is looking at trying to get to the lead now.
Yeah, put Jack Painter up in the 2nd spot. And Josh Chin also trying to capitalize on Kendall Carpenter, who seems to be struggling these past couple laps. Maybe, of course, battling with Jack Painter side by side for that many laps has put a huge detriment on his tires. As Josh Chin will get the advantage of him slightly as he trying to pull into that 3rd spot. So they're side by side coming out of 4.
And it's funny that's kind of the issue with these guys running side by side. They can't go anywhere, and that's kind of what Kendall Carpenter ran into with Joe Armstrong right in front of them. When they got side by side, Kendall can't go anywhere because Joe's just running the bottom. And Jack is able to run the middle of the corner really well, which I think is what gave him the advantage after a little bit. But you can see he's making it work, but he is not as quick on the bottom as he is on the top. He has made all of his time on the top, and it looks like, considering Joe's able to kind of defend both lanes, Jack can't really make the move on Armstrong here. He doesn't really know which lane to choose because he's just really fast right in that lane, and Armstrong is not giving it to him.
Yeah, we've seen some of these guys kind of running that higher line, like you mentioned, Elliot. And I think for some of these guys, it's really working out. You see Josh Chin kind of getting a nice little arc into the corner, trying to get a run onto Jack Painter. Top aboard of Jack Painter, who's seeing all of the front bumper of Armstrong. We do have a lap car slightly in front of him, so that could even play a factor into this one. Maybe Painter could use that car as somewhat of a pick to get around Armstrong and use it to his advantage.
And Braden Movik's going backwards. He's now dropped from 6th to 8th as those guys battle right around 6th, 7th, and 8th positions. A little bit back there, and now it's William Schmidt has found himself back up into 6th after being involved in his little spin early on. Starting to make his way back up towards the top 5. Painter able to hold off Josh Chin's fight right there and put the attack back on Armstrong as they start to work towards his lap traffic.
And some drivers that I do want to highlight who kind of started back further in the grid, who kind of drove it up into, doing a very nice job. One of those being Jonah Malashak, who started 21st, 15th. We've been talking about him a little bit so far in this race, kind of having a nice little recovery for him. Of course, you got some other drivers, such as Robert Dorman, who started 30th up into the 17th position, having a nice race as well. And then Chris sorry if I butchered this, Chris. Pervalarkis. Thank you, Elliot. I've been struggling with that one. Chris Pervalarkis started 26, up in the 16th spot, so he's netted 10 positions for him. Okay, we look between the fight of the 79 and the 21 of William Schmidt and Steven Gibson, as they're battling out for that 6th and 7th spot. Even Schmidt trying to make the pass onto Mo Perry, and riding around right behind Kendall Carpenter.
I'll tell you what, Schmidt might have something to say by the end of this. He did the same thing. Him and Painter, very similar situations to Texas, ran around 10th, and towards the end of the race, here we are about 50 to go, and they're both right here trying to sort this out. Painter running 2nd, Schmidt back there trying to make the pass on Mo Perry to put himself inside the top 5 with Gibson right there behind him.
Yeah, I think if you're Gibson here, you kind of just ride behind both of these drivers and maybe even try to follow one through. Because, the 79 of Schmidt seems to have a little bit more pace on Perry as he starts to pull away from him onto the front stretch. Kind of just been neck and neck. But I think if you are Gibson, you want to just try, if you can, follow Schmidt through and pass Mo Perry.
Can also use his lap car as a pick. He tries to, but Mo Perry kind of puts himself in the middle and moves that lap car out of the way. Schmidt still can't complete the pass. Might just need to dive bomb turn 1 here and get it done. He doesn't. Mo Perry's still kind of sticking to the outside, and they're still going to be side-by-side off the corner.
Again, great battles throughout the entire top 10 during this race. Schmidt started 11th, currently in that 5th position, trying to hold off Mo Perry as he finally is able to get around him fully. Mo Perry, you are not careful. You got the 21 of Gibson right behind him, trying to also get in, try to get closer to that top 5 position.
Still no change up front. Joe Armstrong about 2/10 out over Jack Painter. Josh Chin right there. I'm surprised Kendall's held on as well as he has. He's obviously changed how he ran the first stint and learned something from running behind Josh and these guys this run, because not only did he go up there and attack Joe, but now he's still only sitting here in 4th and still seems like he has a tire under him to potentially get around Josh and Painter still at some point.
Well, the thing, too, about Armstrong is we saw in that first run before that second caution came out, had about a minute, 1.3, it's not a minute, 1.3 second lead from the car behind him, but only a half a second gap between him and Painter. So Armstrong able to, is extending that gap little by little as this run continues on, but not nearly as dominant as it was compared to the first stint before that second caution did come out. As we see now, Kendall Carpenter just on the bumper of Josh Chin coming out of turn 3. We'll look back here between the fight between the 52 of Nolan Sanford. trying to get past Jeff Yenich as they just keep on fighting back and forth.
And we got a battle up here for second as Nolan actually completes that pass, and they're going to have to get around the lap car. But Josh Chin made his move to the bottom of Jack Painter, got a really big run off turn 2, went to the bottom going into 3 and 4, kind of held it, and now he's kind of making that bottom lane work. And Painter looks like he's starting to lose grip on that outside, or Josh Chin has started to see that Joe Armstrong's opened it up to a half-second lead and said, I can't let this guy drive away again, or I'm not going to be able to get up there and get him. So they're about 7/10 off now. Painter sliding the rear tires as we've also got a car on pit road. Looks like the 42 of Braden Movick. Again, the one that drove up from 27th up into the top 10. He's going to be the first one to lay down the gauntlet in pit, so maybe nobody can make it until the end here.
Yeah, we'll throw it down to Ross Brockman and see what he has about what's going on with this current pit strategy. Ross, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is a call from the 42 to just try to maybe do something different. I like the I always love a unique strategy, and if you're by yourself on a strategy, it's you can be the only person that's right if it works out. I think it's going to be tough for it to work out. I think the biggest thing is he's probably hoping that this is going to scare a couple of the leaders that are going to later in this run be really sliding around and wanting those tires, and I don't think he's going to be able to get all the way back up to the lead because he is still a full lap down and a half. But we'll see. We'll see how fast he can drive back up there. Nobody else has followed him down pit road yet. We'll see. I think a lot of people are going to try to make this all the way to lap 150.
Yeah, you never want to be the odd man out. Thank you very much, Ross. And I think, unfortunately, that's what Movick is going to be. Is like Ross mentioned, already about a lap and a half down. Look here between the 49 and the 89 kind of going at it a little bit. They're fighting for 13th and 14th, respectively.
It looks like we've hit a wall here. Armstrong half a second out over Chin. Chin an entire second up over Carpenter. Carpenter another half second out over Painter, who's under attack from Schmidt. So the wall has definitely happened, and I believe that's what brought Braden down pit road. He saw that the tires were pretty much at their threshold, and now everyone's starting to fall off, and he figures, let me go get the freshest stuff and see if I can use this to my advantage. So we'll have to see how this works out over the next 40 laps. If everyone can make it, it's kind of a moot point, though.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you always want to try the undercut if you can. So we'll see how that works out for Movick, as I personally think it's a risky call because, of course, you have to bank on the leaders also kind of pivoting as well and kind of coming down. But William Schmidt, another driver who started in 11th, kind of further back in the pack, up to 4th right now. He's trying to hold off Jack Painter, who's under attack from Steven Gibson, who's kind of been knocking on the door of the top 5 pretty much this entire race. You see, risky pass going 3 wide there between the 42, 70, and the 49. That being Braden Movick, the 42 that we've been mentioning, who does have those a lot fresher tires than everybody else. I believe only about 4 laps old for him on those tires.
And he is running about 1 second quicker than Armstrong right now. So if he can at least get back to the lead lap or get in a lucky dog position, worst case scenario, if a yellow does come out, he would be able to, work himself back out from that. But if these guys can go the rest of the way, then this strategy is going to be an interesting call, to say the least, considering he was running right around 10th at the time.
Yeah, depending on what the situation looks like here, as laps are starting to wind down. You might be hoping for a caution if you're Movick, and maybe, of course, for these leaders, you're hoping one doesn't come out. That's if they can make it all the way to the end on these tires, as Armstrong's starting to be able to stretch that lead out. Started to stretch that lead out on Josh Chin, as we even saw Armstrong late in the run kind of get quicker and quicker. It's building up, almost starting to get into that 1 second range with that gap with Chin.
Yeah, no one's really seemed to have anything for him. Chin's now about a second off the mark, and Carpenter's still about a second behind Chin. So Joe Armstrong just doing what he's done all night long, just kind of putting his pedal down and putting his focus out the front windshield and putting everybody in his mirror behind him.
And we'll see Steven Gibson actually make the pass onto Jack Painter for the 5th spot to move him into the top 5, as Jack Painter starting to fall off a little bit, as now he does have to worry about the 04 of Gabe Wood right behind him. see a battle here further back in the pack. The 50. Dude, it's the 053 of Chris Lilly. Trying to work his way around and trying to fight off the 23 of Jonah Malashak. Trying to also get around of Gornridge as well.
And these are all guys that were involved in that initial incident between the 53 and the 33 initially, and all sitting here right around that 15th spot, trying to make some ground up from where they were earlier.
Too wide going into 1 and 2 between Malashak and Gornridge. Team fighting back and forth. I mean, this short track racing has, produced exactly what I was hoping would, Elliot, which is some action-packed racing throughout the entire pack. Which we've had no shortage of that here tonight.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of green flag runs too, and you can see now on screen, Braden Movac has moved his way. He's now chasing down Josh Chin, trying to put himself back on the lead lap. He's still 2 seconds behind Armstrong. Chin's lost a lot of ground to Armstrong, as Movac's going to look to the outside here, and William Schmidt's moved himself around Kendall Carpenter. Carpenter back to 4th, Schmidt up to 3rd, trying to put sights on Josh Chin, who seems to be falling off. At least from Armstrong's pace, and Schmidt kind of keeping pace with Armstrong at the current moment.
Further back of the pack, there's a slight contact between the 23. I cannot see who it was, but the 23 falling, Jonah Malashak falling a bunch of positions, now down into 20th. Was sitting around 16th, 15th, but I think he might have gotten contact with either Lilly or Gorringe. Have to see a replay on that one. Actually, we will get one here. Interested to see what happened to Malashak. So dive into 3 and 4. Oh yeah, just got way loose. Good job of saving that, not collecting the 33 of Isaac Johnson in the process. So unfortunate to see maybe the tires playing dividends there too. Malashak kind of, we're getting very deep into this run. But he'll fall down all the way down to 21st because of that slide. And big moment there, as Johnson probably happy not to be collected in that one.
Really lucky that wasn't a yellow, as Armstrong's going to let Movac through now. That is going to put him back on the lead lap. So worst case scenario, he's at least found his way back to the lead lap, but you can see just how big a difference is on those tires. Question is how many spots can he gain back. Remember, he was running about 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in there, and right now currently back at about the 23rd spot, but everybody ahead of him is 4 position now, so as many guys as he can pick up is where he'll be able to move his way towards the front, obviously on the freshest tires here.
And the guy that's been kind of having a fall for grace is Cole Freilich, as Movac making the pass on him, going in just on the backstretch. He's down in 27th. Or 28th, sorry. He was running the top 5, and actually 6 laps down. We did see him get damaged and having to bring it down pit road, but happy to just see him back on track, hopefully to salvage at least something from this race, but I highly doubt it being that many laps down. But we see the 79 of Schmidt going to make a pass on to Chin. Does get the slight advantage out of him coming out of turn 4. See if he will make the pass stick, diving into 1. Chin kind of been falling off here little by little.
Well, it's Chin's falling off, but Schmidt is the only one keeping pace with Armstrong. His lap times have basically mimicked Armstrong's the whole time, which is the most impressive thing. You got to wonder if maybe you get a late race yellow if Schmidt has anything for him, but right now Schmidt's still putting in blistering pace compared to everybody else on track aside from Armstrong, and everyone else is just kind of seeing the negative side effect of it. Armstrong is in a mess right now, though. Lap cars all around him, and he wants to go 3 wide, but I think, right now with a 3.5 second lead, you just got to be really careful here. Let them work itself out and try to find your way through. He's gonna force the issue, though. 3 wide through the middle.
They're very, very dangerous with lap traffic. And I mean, lap traffic, we kind of did mention a little bit, is going to start playing a factor, and so it is. So if you are Schmidt, you're hoping some of these lap cars do hold up Armstrong a little bit. And the other thing, like you mentioned, Schmidt is running slightly faster than Armstrong, but I mean, you look, they're pretty much on the same lap old tires. 75 laps since the last time either one of them pitted. I mean, that's the same throughout the top 10 and pretty much all the way to the top 12. Everybody is on about the same age of tires, but maybe Schmidt just has something for the long run. We are thinking with these laps running down Elliott, and Schmidt also having to go through lap traffic as well.
Yellow.
Oh, we do have a yellow.
We had a spinner on the backstretch there. I think it was a 23. Yep.
Yeah, the 23 going around there of Jonah Malashak as his night continues to get worse. As he was able to drive up into the top 15 at one point, down into 23rd. Have to see what happens. So Mavic, kind of gets just gets loose on the backstretch. Just spun out himself. But honestly, this might what the doctors order for Mavic. As we do see Joe Armstrong looks to be the only car to come down pit road.
Yeah, I just think for everyone else, there's
behind him.
There's too many guys staying out potentially. We'll see, but I don't know. Movic's in a very interesting spot. If you stay out, you're on old tires, and we saw what new tires did for him. So, it looks like a majority of these guys did stay out, though. Movic did pit, and actually Chin's coming down now.
Guys, we might have to look at a replay here, but there was a mess coming into the pit road on that the first time the pits were open, and Chin and Carpenter actually kind of missed pit road. There was a kind of a stack up, it looks like, and maybe trying to avoid damage, they had to jump up to the outside and avoid pit road. We'll have to take a look at it, but a huge shakeup here because Chin and Carpenter are going to have to pit on the second lap.
Schmidt pitted so late here, and Chin ran into him.
Wow, that is very interesting. William Schmidt making a very last-second decision to come down pit road. It's very, very interesting. I mean, it almost looks like, Chin and Carpenter were following Schmidt, kind of maybe doing the opposite or maybe doing the same whatever Schmidt did. Maybe Schmidt was on to that and decided to pit last second. Who knows? We might have to see if anything is said over the driver chat. Is a very close call between Chin and Schmidt.
Well, that's not a close call. There was contact. I think it was just Schmidt didn't know that he really wanted to pit there. I think Schmidt was kind of committed to staying out, and then they just made the late call to be like, I need to pit.
Contact, yeah. And
Chin made sure he pitted, but now everybody's hit pit road, and unfortunately, the only person this really helps is Movac. It puts him up 2 spots, but it absolutely hurts Carpenter and Chin here.
Yeah, and it even helps Armstrong a lot too, because the 2 guys that he's been fighting this entire time are now going to be shuffled a little bit further back in the pack with 10 laps to go. So very, very unfortunate, very interesting situation to unfold, as there are some benefactors. That is Steven Gibson and Gabe Wood also benefit as well. Mo Perry, Justin Knudsen also benefit from that as well. But the pace car will dive off. Armstrong will lead the field back to green with 10 laps to go. All
right, guys, they're going to throw off this going back to green. Another lap. They trying to stack up the back. It looks like maybe getting some things straight. I just going to add in that Schmidt said that he was just trying to get caught up a little bit to the lap cars when coming to pit road there because he was so far back of Armstrong and just misjudged that the end of pit road was coming up. So he said the barrels definitely snuck up on him and apologized to Chin and Carpenter.
Yeah, I mean, we were even kind of talking about it before the broadcast even started. It was kind of a weird situation getting onto pit road. As this racetrack also, too, doesn't even have enough pit boxes for every driver on the grid as well. So that's also a very interesting dynamic that the drivers would have to deal with. And we'll pace around one more time, I believe, before going green. We keep mentioning Braden Movic, currently sitting in 11th. He was the one that pitted way, way early, so... But honestly now, a lot of the cars in front of him are on way fresher tires. on top
Well,
of
he
that,
pitted
so
with them, so basically
did
he
pit,
just
okay.
null and voided his own strategy and ends up 11th anyway.
Well, Movic too. He showed that he did have pace on the fresher tires as well, so that could also play a factor. But we go back green as Armstrong. Huge launch there with Schmidt on his inside. The outside lane keep on working for Armstrong as he completely clears Schmidt, who now is under attack of Gabe Wood, the 04, right behind him.
I mean, that was a big launch, but it was a really big launch by Schmidt. We haven't seen the bottom be able to take off this well. Schmidt able to hold on a second and potentially could put the attack on Joe Armstrong. He's got a lot of work to do. I don't know that anyone can really touch Armstrong, but in these closing laps, he's definitely there.
Schmidt, if you are worried, you do have Gabe Wood and Steven Gibson right behind him, as Gibson and Wood kind of fighting back and forth for that third spot. There's 5 laps to go here at Kern Raceway. And almost 3 wide, a little bit further back in the pack, is some contact made between Painter, I believe that is the 48, as he actually gets shoved out a little bit from the 48 of Gavin Newton.
Yeah, Newton, Painter. Painter's been going backwards. Josh Chin's back there. You can see Kendall Carpenter. Those guys trying to rebound from their issue right there, trying to get to pit road. And Movac still trying to make his way up through the middle. But Painter, the big loser here, came out right around 10th, and he is all the way down to almost 15th now.
Also, the big loser here is Kendall Carpenter and Josh Chin, as they're fighting for the top 3 this entire race. And I don't know if they're going to have enough time to kind of make back those positions that they have lost due to that incident on pit road.
Yeah, we got a battle for the lead.
Yeah, car sideways. I think it was the 42 of Movic that went around going through turn 4. But we will stay green, though.
Schmidt is side by side trying to put something next to Armstrong here. Gibson laying in wait, going to see how this sorts itself out. But we're coming 2 to go right here as Schmidt trying to get around Armstrong.
Yeah, very surprised there that caution was not thrown as Movic, as he was completely sideways going through 3 and 4. I think he made some contact with some of the cars around him. But William Schmidt knocking on the door of Joe Armstrong as they come to the white flag this time by.
I don't know that he's going to have a lot for him. He's going to have to really drive it off into 1 and 2 and try to get a big run going into 3.
Don't know. One-turn miracles can happen, but I think he is now a little too far back to make anything work, and he will be. Armstrong would drive off before, sliding a little bit, and he'll come to the checkered flag. So Joe Armstrong absolutely dominant as he will take the top spot in this one. William Schmidt gave a good effort there at the end. So we see some contact here after the checkered flag as Josh Chin jumped up into the wall. But Joe Armstrong will be your winner here of the Central Valley 150. William Schmidt, Stephen Gibson, Gabe Wood, and Mo Perry will be your top 5.
Yeah, it was an impressive run by Schmidt to get back up there, but you got to hand it to Joe Armstrong over here. Just really dominant race tonight, and I'm sure Kendall Carpenter and Josh Chin will definitely be a little frustrated with how that turned out, but for now, it's definitely Joe Armstrong's race.
Yeah, very unfortunate, like you mentioned with Kendall Carpenter. He'll finish in 8th. Josh Chin will finish down in 11th. So that mishap on pit road with William Schmidt will come back and bite them, as they were possibly contenders. But like you mentioned, though, Elliot, Joe Armstrong has pretty much had everybody's number in this race, as he led majority of the laps. I think there's only maybe just a handful that he didn't lead. But he did everything. He had a right pit strategy. He even had amazing restarts even. And he will win this 3rd race of the season, kind of putting an end to Kendall Carpenter's win streak as well on top of that.
Yeah, first time we've seen someone be able to beat Kendall Carpenter here, and it wasn't Cole Freilich, unfortunately. And, shout out to Cole for how well he ran, but ended up getting caught up and could not bounce back after his damage. He will end up 28th here.
Very unfortunate.
Joe Armstrong, dominant
very
run.
unfortunate for Cole Freilich. I mean, we interviewed him before the race, like you mentioned. He was very, very excited to be back at this racetrack. We're just standing by to see if we can get anybody in the top 3 in here for an interview.
Yeah, it might just be a winner-only interview tonight, but I mean, how about Gabe Wood ending up fourth and Justin Knutson? We didn't talk a whole lot about him. Drove from 12th to 6th, and Nolan Sanford actually ended up inside the top 10 from 17th. Painter fell all the way back to 10th, but still maintained a top 10 finish after a bit of contact there with Braden Movick on the last lap, or about 2 to go, that we documented. But really strong run from a bunch of these guys, and guys like Christopher Pervalarkis and Robert Dorman driving up from the rear of the field right around 12th and 14th tonight.
Yeah, Pervalarkis finishing 26th, but we'll take a look here at your top 10. So Joe Armstrong will get the win. William Schmidt, Stephen Gibson, Gabe Wood, Mo Perry, Justin Knutson, and then Jeff Yinich, Kendall Carpenter, Nolan Sanford, and then Jack Painter will round out your top 10.
And Joshua Chin documented his issue. Obviously ran really well tonight. Looked like a top potential race winner. Will wind up 11th. Chris Pervalarkis winds up 12th after starting 26th. Gavin Newton, who we've talked about a lot this season, rounds out 13th after starting back in 19th. Robert Dorman will finish 14th after starting shotgun on the field in 30th. Chris Lilly rounds out your top 15. And there's Braden Movick, who, again, really strong run, went back and forth throughout the race, but will wind up 16th after his contact at the end. Isaac Johnson, who was involved in our first yellow, rounds out the 17th place finish. Tyler Seville, who had an up and down night, will finish 18th. John Daniels is 19th, and Hunter Waters will round out your top 20.
Let's look at the 53 of Jones, Brindell in 22nd, Orange in 23rd, Stearns in 24th, Malashak, Lindover, Baker, Freilich, the other Lindover, and then Stuckwich rounding out your top 30. But we do actually have the man who won this evening, Joe Armstrong, standing by. We'll pull him in here. Joe, congratulations on your win this evening here for the Neko Design Central Valley 150. How'd it feel tonight to get this win?
It felt great. I've been full-time in this series for a long time and have kind of dialed that back over the last few seasons, and have kind of pick and chose when I can run just for the better of my win percentage, I guess. And came out tonight, big fan of the short tracks and stuff, so qualified on pole, and I knew that would be very big because I could kind of control the pace of the race. And first run didn't do a great job at saving my stuff, but the second run I think I did a really good job. And then the last 20 laps, it was kind of just hoping that we got the yellow, and it was kind of just hoping that I didn't get used up at any point. So shout out to William Schmidt for not making contact with me there, because he had plenty of opportunities to do so.
And the one thing that we saw also too, you going back and forth with Josh Chin, Kendall Carpenter, Cole Freilich at one point. What was your mindset kind of holding those guys off? Because like you mentioned, you didn't try to use up your stuff that much, but obviously saving tire played dividends. But how was it going back and forth with those guys pretty much throughout this entire race?
It was really fun. Kendall, Josh, Cole, those are guys that I've raced with for a long time in this series. So I kind of, well, Kendall's newer, but I've raced with him for a while now in officials and stuff. But it's always fun to kind of duke it out with guys who are really good, especially when it's clean and you can get a long run going in. Shout out to the entire field tonight. We only had, I think, like, aside from like the end, like one yellow for like anything really big. So like props to them, because the short tracks on this game are certainly like a wreck fest usually. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Any questions?
Yeah, the last question I just want to ask you, we saw pretty much every single restart for you. You picked that outside lane. You just knew going into this race that outside lane on the restarts had more of an advantage, or is that something you kind of just figured out as like the race progressed?
It was something that I knew going into the race. I know it's harder to pass on the bottom, even though the bottom is a little bit faster and more preferred by yourself, battling side by side. You just want to have the outside line just to be able to defend a little bit better. But fortunately, I didn't really have to do too much of that on the restarts, just because I was able to get a large enough jump on second to go into turn one. single file, but yeah, it was something that I knew going into the race that I fortunately was able to use a lot tonight.
And again, well, congratulations on your win, first one of the season. Before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to thank here tonight?
Shout out to you guys for putting on this stream or show or whatever. I know this is y'all's first season, so I hope that's going well so far. Shout out to OSRL. Shout out to Jonathan Oates for putting on this league for the last few years and everybody that runs that. And then shout out to Outlier Speedco. I guess that's my esports team, Irish team that I run for. I don't really know if they did anything for this race to for me to give them a shout out, but those are my guys over there. So yeah, other than that, just thanks everybody for showing up, and hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, thank you again, Joe. Congratulations once again. Hope to see you back out on track soon. So that's your winner, everybody. Joe Armstrong joined us here in the booth. An amazing win for him here tonight. And of course, stay tuned next week as we will see the OSRL head over to the Sebring International Raceway for the first road course action we will see on the season. But with that said, I'm Evan Snyder, Elliot Henderson alongside me. We also had Ross Brockman down on pit lane, and also shout out Jeff Johnson for helping out with all the broadcasts and putting everything together. And for one last time from Kevin Harvick, Kern Raceway, we want to say good night, and everyone have a good one.
Where nothing was blocking me. I was the problem, the only one stopping me. I didn't like it, I had to refocus. Now I'm devoted, I know where I'm going. Controlling emotions, I'm owning the moment. In order to get it, see, you gotta want it. Don't make a living break. Confessions over these 808s. Don't sleep on the key, better stay away. I mean, for heaven's sake, I'ma be the best. Came from the endless lane roll games, bitch with the chest. Beating on my chest, trying to get my rest. Watch me while I flex. Every win is a blessing, and every L is a lesson. So when I run into rejection, I know it's only redirection. I see the blessings right beside me. The chances of quitting are likely. I do it like I'm in my Nikes. Don't make excuses, they never excite me. Quitting was never an option.